Hello, my name is Roger, and in this video I'm going to be showing a method for recovering unreadable MP4 video files. Before we dive into the video though, I need to say that it's aimed solely at users of Windows PCs. I think that the files used in the method are available in formats for Apple, Mac and Unix machines, but as I don't have access to either of those, I can't actually confirm that. So just to be clear, this video is aimed at users of Windows 32 or 64-bit PCs at a minimum level of Windows 7. So what are we talking about here? Let's get going. Sometimes when we record a video, we find that the file that we get is unplayable. It's unreadable by the normal Windows video players, media players like VLC, Windows Media Player, and so on. However, as the most common reason for a file being unreadable is that we have turned the recording device off, the device like a GoPro or the drone, we've turned that off before we've stopped the video recording, the damage that has been done to the file is not that serious and the file is recoverable. So it's a great shame if that file is thrown away when it can normally be saved. So let's have a look and see what we're talking about. I've got a couple of files here on this laptop, the desktop of this laptop, which show what we're talking about. One of them shows up with an icon that looks like a video and the other one doesn't. And I think this is true for whatever your default media player is. It will show up as an icon, one with an icon and the other without. If we double click on the one with the icon, lo and behold, it opens up in the media player that you're using, which for me is VLC. And as you can see, it's running. So that's a good playable file. The other one that doesn't have an icon, video icon. If I double click on that one, my media player tries to open it up and play it, but it can't. Okay, so this one is a good playable file. This one is a bad unplayable one. Now, that's our first clue. Our second clue, which gives us some hope, is that if we look at this good file, it contains content. It's got 146 megabytes of content. Now, although this one here is unplayable, if we click on it, we actually find that it contains 187 megabytes of content. Well, that's a good sign. Normally, that would mean that although we can't play that file at the moment, we can recover it, so it will be playable. Now, let's get rid of those for now. Now, in order to use this method, you're going to need to do a download, and the download will be different depending on whether you've got a 32-bit or a 64-bit computer. Now, I've put links to the two downloads in the description below, and you'll need to download whichever one is right for your PC. If you download a 64-bit package and try to run it on a 32-bit computer, it won't do any damage, but it just won't run it. You'll just be wasting your time. So you need to download the right package for your computer. Now, for the laptop I'm using, it's a 64-bit laptop, so I've downloaded the 64-bit package, which is called Recover MP4 64, and it's in zip file format. So if I double click it, I can see the content is a folder called Recover MP4. And if I drag that folder onto my laptop, onto my desktop of my laptop, okay, it ends up permanently on my laptop and I can close the zip file. So I've now got a folder on my laptop desktop called Recover MP4, and I always leave that on my desktop because it's convenient then for when I want to use it. I haven't got to go digging in the computer files to find the folder that I need. So let's open that folder up, and I find it contains 3 subfolders and another couple of files. These other files are the license terms, etc., of the guys who created the original files. I didn't do that. All I've done is to package them up into conveniently usable packages, because when you look on the internet, they're not together. You have to download them separately and then combine them, and I've done that to make them easy to use. So we have these 3 subfolders, and the one that we're concerned about, the one that we're interested in, is the one that's called bin. So let's look into the bin. Now this is the folder where all of our work will be done. Now let's go back to our 2 files, our good one and our bad one. There they are. Now the method needs a good reference file from the same device that created the bad unplayable file. Well, there it is. There is my good reference file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that into this bin folder. Okay, and I'm then going to rename it. I'm going to call it good. Okay, now the bad unplayable file that I'm trying to recover, I'm going to copy that also into the bin folder. Okay, and I'm going to rename that and call it bad. So we're doing pretty well so far. Now we can get rid of those again. Now the method involves typing in some fairly long, complex MS-DOS commands. And what I have done, I've created a text file which is already in the bin folder of the commands that apply for recovering files from my drone. These are non-audio files. They're video without audio, and I'm pretty certain that they will apply to any drone file that doesn't have audio, just contains video, because I've used them for 2 separate drones. Okay, now the commands have got to go into, they've got to be used in MS-DOS, and I get MS-DOS by going to the bin file, and you'll see that there's a file called CMD. I right click on that and it says run as administrator. So I left click on run as administrator. I get a dark screen that looks like this. I click on the yes button and it gets me an MS-DOS window. Now most people are not happy, are not used to using MS-DOS windows, but don't worry, by having this text file and these commands, it actually is a simple and easy thing to do. The first command that we need is shown in this text file, and it's the same for any type of file that we want to recover, whether it's a GoPro file, a drone file, with or without audio. The first command is the one that's shown in this text file, the first line. So I'm going to highlight it, copy and paste by doing Control-C to copy, then go back into the MS-DOS window, do Control-V, and it comes up where the cursor was flashing. There's the command ready to use. I hit the Enter key, okay, and it has actually run that command. What it's done, it's compared the bad file against the good reference file, and it's found where the errors are in the bad file that are preventing it from running. And it then says, okay, now I've done that. In order to recover this corrupt file, you're going to need to run a further command. And when you've done that, you've got to run a third command. Okay, ffmpeg, blah, blah, blah. So In order to not have to keep typing these commands in, I've put them into this text file. Now, I think that the third command is the same for any file that you're trying to recover. Okay, the FFmpeg one. It may be that your file will need a different second command, and certainly it will if it contains audio. So you'll need to edit your own text file to have that change. But now we need to run the second command. So I go into my text file, I highlight that command, I do Control-C to copy it, I go back into the MS-DOS window, I do Control-V, there is the command, ready to use, I hit the Enter key, and now it is recovering that bad file for me, but not into a format that I can immediately use. It's actually going to put it into an intermediate file called result H.264. In order to convert H.264 into a usable, runnable video file, I need to run the third command that it put up on previously in this window, which is now lost, which is why it's handy to have it in this text file. So I'm now going to copy the third command. Okay, Control-C, back into the MS-DOS window, Control-V, there is the command ready to use, hit the Enter key, boom, 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 and it's done the job. Now I can get rid of the text file, I can get rid of the MS-DOS window, and if I look into the bin folder, I can see that there is now an MP4 file called output. Now if I double click output, it opens up my video player and bingo, it runs. And I can guarantee that now it's running, it will go all the way through without error. So I have recovered that bad video file and it is now in the bin folder called output. Now what I personally now do is I go back to my original file, this is the bad one, remember, and I get output and I rename it the same as the old video file, the old bad video file. So it's 2005 0410 0410 1043_00. Okay, now if I grab that, move it into the folder containing the original bad file, it'll say, do I want to replace the file in the destination? Well, the file that it wants to replace is the bad one that I can't use. So I say, yeah. So it replaces it. And now that also has an icon that looks like a video, and if I click on it, it's a good runnable file. So the job is now done, and there is my bad file recovered. It's fully usable. What I personally then do is I go back to the bin folder and I select the bad file that I copied into it. I also select these last two files, result and video. I do Shift Delete, get rid of them. That cleans up the bin folder and it's ready for the next time that I want to use it. So there you are. There is the method for recovering an otherwise unplayable MP4 video file. I hope it's useful and I hope it'll help you to recover lots of bad files that you get in the future. So my name is Roger, and that's goodbye for now.